So I have been in the custom home building business for a long time, over 3 decades. And I think the biggest challenge that I see, especially with us true custom builders, is our clients have a lot of choices to make, a lot of decisions. And the virtual endless amount of choices that can be made when building a custom home can be overwhelming for some people. There is actually something called the paralysis of choice, where the more options that you have, the harder it is to make a decision. Basically, endless choices cause people to freeze up and a sort of paralysis, and they can't make a choice. So one of the things I have evolved on over the last few years has been using design teams, interior designers, to help our customers work through this process of choices, to help them identify things that are going to give them the looks they want inside and outside the home. So really this video is about, should you use an interior designer when you're building a custom home? One thing I've seen over the years is a lot of people don't like the thought of spending money on a design team. You know, it's, well, that designer's going to cost me $10,000 or $20,000. These are big numbers when you think about it. And it can be relative to the home that you're building. You know, if you are building a lower priced home, you're using one of the production builders, then you're going to go to their design center and they're going to be design professionals to help you through that. But generally speaking, you're going to be limited on your choices. The houses themselves may be smaller and only have so many options. I may be building a, multi-million dollar, 10,000 square foot home for somebody where there are a lot of choices to be made. There are a lot of rooms. They want to do a lot of high-end finishes. And again, this can be very challenging. So I have become a huge proponent of paying for investing in that interior design team. I use a third-party design group. They are their own designers. They work for other builders, but they are great. They have their own office with showrooms, with materials, and they are great at meeting with our customers, getting all the feedback from our customers on what the customer is looking for. Hey, here's 500 Pinterest pictures I have, or things I've grabbed offline. This is the style I'm looking for in my kitchen. This is the style I'm looking for in my bathroom, and these kind of focal points of the house. These designers will then take all this information, build a palette for these rooms. Here's the look of the cabinets, the design type, the coloring, the countertops. They will get my customers back to their office to have these follow-up meetings once they've kind of laid out their whole palette of colors, materials. And I've sat in on many of these now, and it is the best way to take something that has 1,000 choices and have somebody, kind of consolidate all that down into something that the customer generally likes. I've been to a few different interior design meetings. Some of them do it differently. One would basically throw 2 options up for every room. 2 different types of paint, 2 different finishes for certain things, maybe 2 different versions of light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, and bathrooms. And one might have been a higher, one might have been a lower. Homeowners would say, I like that. Let's use choice number 1 here, maybe something from choice number 2. Current design team I use, they don't really do the 1-2 choice thing. They just will have a few different options to look at in this palette of colors and kind of style in a given room. And from what I've seen, a good designer can get 90% of the way there with you, the homeowner. My homeowners are sitting there going, I like all this. Maybe we change this one thing. This style you showed of trim on this wall, I don't know about that. Let's try something different. And nothing wrong with that. If you told a designer you don't like anything they came up with, hopefully that hasn't happened or won't happen to you, because of course the goal of the designer is to hopefully be in the wheelhouse of what you wanted. I know the design team I use seem to be great at that, because sitting in some of these meetings, again, there aren't a whole lot of changes being made. I think they have managed to arrive at the looks, the color palettes, the materials that my customers have said they're interested in. And what this does is it takes out all these decisions, all this legwork that one of my customers, would have to do if they were just essentially doing things themselves. I've got flooring companies that have nice design centers. There are people that can help with the flooring, but hey, the countertops aren't in that flooring design center. The paint samples aren't in that flooring design center. Whereas when you're meeting with the interior design teams, they have all of that. A lot of it they physically have samples with. Oftentimes up on their monitors, they will have a lot of visuals showing these different options. And it really just helps kind of deal with this endless options scenario, this paralysis of choice scenario, because they have done all the looking through all these materials. The designers have spent the time looking at 300 different paint colors and countertops and different ideas to have a meeting with you where they show you a few. Here's this room with maybe 2 options. What do you think? And if they've done their job well, you, the homeowner, you, the customer, should say, I like almost all that. Maybe you like all of it. Maybe they went above and beyond with ideas that you wouldn't have come up with. I just had a meeting like that actually on a commercial job where my clients were pretty blown away with what the designer came up with. Hey, that is a really cool idea for the way you did that here. You had this ceiling treatment. We would have never thought of doing that. Sometimes we were all bouncing ideas off of each other because their designer option wasn't exactly what my clients wanted, but it was the inspiration for coming up with a slightly different idea that probably nobody would have come up with if the designer hadn't showed us their idea to start with. So it is my opinion that investing in the cost of an interior design team, and again, we always called them interior designers. They are just called designers now. They can do a lot of other things, including the exterior. They can, after you move into the home, can help you with furnishing and all these kind of things. But from a builder standpoint, I'm using them more or less for the selections process. I want my customers to be able to be happy with the choices they've made for their flooring, for their cabinets, for their countertops, their paint and stain colors, trim, all of that. And I like to get that information in a nice organized way that these design firms will give us. Because as a builder, I have certainly had jobs move slower than they could have because my buyers weren't making decisions fast enough. A couple years ago, I had one probably a month and a half before paint. I started telling the homeowner, I need paint decisions. I need color decisions because we're getting to the point that we're going to be ready to paint. We got to that point, I had no selections. And at that point, you can't do anything. If you don't have a paint color, you can't paint. And so I think we lost about a week as we really made the point to our customer that we're sitting now. We can't go anywhere until you come up with a paint color. When you are using these design firms, as a builder, they are giving us all the information we need. We've got it all ahead of time. At this point, we're able to build the home and move through these things and not have to keep getting back with our customers saying, we need a decision on this, we need a decision on that. So again, I think it's a great investment. If you are building a custom home, if you are about to enter this process and your builder hasn't talked about the interior design aspects of it, talk with them if they have an interior design group. If they don't, you might want to go out and talk to some yourself. It's just like a lot of our customers come to us and already have their floor plan design. They have found their own architect. They own their own lot or land, and they just had a plan design and came to us with it. There are, just like architects, a lot of interior design firms out there that can help you through this process. You can talk to them about how they charge, what all they do, and most importantly, you want to be comfortable with them. Have them show you some portfolios of what they've done. Different designers may have different styles that they like to work with. The thing I've seen with the one I use is they are flexible. Not everybody has the same design style that they want to see inside and outside of their home. And you need a designer that can work with somebody that likes traditional, somebody that likes modern, you know, and all points in between. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you. If you are building, go out and find an interior designer, and hey, I'll see you on the next video.